Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new How to Bass. And today I'm going to show you how to make the sound. This is a song in a track I'm working on, but it's actually from another track. This track, this sound, actually when we look at the patch that's making it, you'll see that it's called FM Gorilla. It has nothing to do with the texture of it sounding anything like a gorilla, because it doesn't. It's actually because it's from a track that I did for Bass Gorilla that I don't think it's online yet, but when it will be, there'll be a tutorial for it, and it'll be laced for it, and it'll be wonderful. But I liked it when I made it in there, and it reminded me of some pretty cool textures I'd heard in older school neuro stuff. Specifically this bit. That bit. And I integrated it into this track, which some of you might remember because I'm pretty sure I used it for the last How to Bass. And it's got little sparky moments here and that kind of thing, and it sounds like this. So on and so forth. Anyway, let's talk about what's actually happening here. So like I said, I made this in another track. So here's the patcher that I'm using with, but I am also using some post effects to kind of make it fit more with this track, which is pretty important when you're talking about sort of integrating a lot of sounds into one thing, especially a genre like this, which usually has a lot of sounds. A lot of times when students come to me to do lessons, and one of the things they want to talk about is how do they mix basses together. And one of the important things to do is that, like, you have to sort of, when you introduce new sounds, you got to make it sound like they belong in the song they're in. So I had to do some pretty hefty mixing to make that work. So like before the mixing, this is what it sounded like. And then with the mixing, plus being high pass, plus being mastered, sounds like. And there's a little bit more than just mixing as well, because I had this chorus here, and the whole reason this chorus exists is because I was trying to impart just a little bit more extra kind of stereo-ish to it. Because there was a chorus in here, but this chorus, while it does its job in a particular way, it wasn't super, on point. And I didn't want to screw with the sound. Whatever it was doing, I wanted to keep doing what it was doing and not sort of mess with the core aspect of it. Even though I kept this guy here, this is just a sub reinforcement, and there's no sub because I high-passed it. Such as the decisions of using presets. So that's what this is here about. This is what this EQ is doing. And of course, this decision to EQ it like this is based on listening to the other basses and just making it sound like them by not having a frequency profile that was too different from them, even though they are different sounds. So that's just a quick little thing about mixing. Anyway, the actual sound, let's actually disable all the extra stuff so we talk about sort of just the... So this is what's coming out of this guy. This is what it sounds like naked. What we got, this is FM. It's based on a lot of what goes on in that Bass Gorilla track. The main basses are all this kind of metallic-y FM kind of thing. And the way that this works is that your primary FM oscillator, so the carrier being the thing that it's beating FM, just regular, just a sine wave is going out. And then the first modulator, the thing that is modulating the carrier, is an octave higher. And other than that, it's actually pretty regular. It's a triangle wave with some higher harmonics, and then it gets FM'd by another secondary oscillator to give it some sort of squelch. But the squelch isn't really happening right now because it's faster than the primary oscillations. Like if this was regular oscillate, like regular level oscillation, where it's the same tone as the fundamental. You can kind of hear that it sounds a little bit like, sort of like the regular stuff that I would normally do. And the other part of it is the fact that when we do move it up an octave, I'm actually reducing the maximum FM amount. I'm not going all the way up. And that's because it goes faster, it's actually FMing more. And you can kind of observe this if you look at what happens when we have, say, a citrus. Whoa. Did I always do that before? Weird. Put an EQ in here. Is it fading into you? That's just weird. All right, anyway. I don't have FM engaged. By FM, I mean MIDI. Because I am prepared for life. Be prepared. Yeah. All right, so we have a sound, and if we modulate it you know, with a very low speed, you know, FM. Right now it's at max FM, right? So it's FMing at its maximum intensity. But notice as it goes faster, it also sort of increases how far its effects are reach. So if we look at, you know, a 0.2 FM and then look at a 0.4 FM, we see that it's not only is the timbre a bit different, but also kind of moves where it is. As a result, if whatever sort of shape that we have that works at one octave is not really going to have the same impact on another octave, which is of course the point, because we want to have a different timbre altogether. But a lot of what you might expect to happen won't, and the reason for it will be because it's too loud. So then you just turn it down a bit, and then you get sort of the range that you were expecting before. I am at about half. That was mostly set to ear. I suppose logically you can assume that if you want to be a same sort of timbre, that you would want to be half the FM per octave. So, like, you know, if it was 1 octave higher, it would be half. If it was 2 octaves, it would be a quarter. That kind of thing. But I mostly just set it to ear. I just let it play until I found where I wanted to be, and it just happened to be half. And it's probably because of that reason. I haven't done any like actual research on the point, so I'm not particularly sure. And then I'm distorting it. So I have the separator here, and it's not really doing anything. And then this guy here, which is not being high passed, but given its nature, it's just not super solid at the low end. So it's going through this chorus, which is just some setting. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing, which again was mostly there to impart some kind of stereo presence to it, which didn't really seem to do the job particularly well. There's probably a reason for that, but that's okay. Then also the dry signal. I believe I have this set to wet only. Yes, I do, because you can do that. And that's how you bypass stuff inside Patcher, by the way. Because in the regular mixer insert, you have this wet dry knob, and you can do this half on, half off thing, the halfer. But inside Patcher, you got to do that yourself. All that really basic stuff with, like, you know, any kind of panning or mid-side fading or bypassing, that sort of thing. You can do it. You just have to do it yourself. It doesn't work like a regular mixer connection. It has none of those sort of formalities built in. Formalities? Amenities? Whatever. Anyway, then it's being distorted. And I have a pretty wild distortion kind of curve going on. It's mostly set by ear and mostly set by I just wanted to destroy the sound. This is what it sounds like without distortion, which I can do by disabling this and then bypassing it, like so. So if what you're doing sounds like that, you're on the right track. And then you distort it. Most of the time I do, you know, pretty regular distortions, you know, just more like just have the shape be the entire thing as opposed to this ridiculous shape. A lot of what I know about wave shaping, I've learned mostly just by dicking around and listening to things by ear. So I kind of recommend you mess around with sort of shapes you might not have thought of might be useful on sounds that necessarily didn't need it. But also note that this sound is particularly smooth before distortion. If you have a pretty gnarly sound going into distortion and you distort it even more, chances are it's not going to work out super well. But part of the reason why this works out so well is because the sound itself is rather smooth. It's low key, essentially. And so it benefits. And then here's the EQ that we used to bring it in line with the rest of the song. And then here's the chorus we used to very lightly impart some stereo. And then also this half on, half off business with the wet dry knob imparts a little bit of phasiness. And if you remember the last How to Bass where I talked about the flanging Reese kind of thing, it's a bit of a theme for this song, this track that I'm working on. Yeah. So I'll put this patcher up for download in the description. It'll be pretty cool. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day. This is where I turn off the recording.